I have with me under agenda item 3 the issue of request for delivering statement by the state of Eritrea. I would like to give the floor to the representative of the state of Eritrea. Okay, great, thank you. If we have the representative of Egypt as well, we would give the floor to the representative of Egypt after Eritrea. Okay, Mr. Binyam, most welcome. You have the floor, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. It gives me a great pleasure to address the 68th ordinary session of the SHPR on behalf of the government of the state of Eritrea. At the outset, I wish to convey my government's condolences on the passing of Commissioner Ndiamegaye. Mr. Chairperson, the AU Assembly designated Arts, Culture and Heritage Levers for Building the Africa We Want, a theme for 2021. The theme has direct relevance to Africa's renaissance, to the implementation of the African Charter, and the work of the Commission. The lofty ideals of human rights, development, democracy are oftentimes framed as concepts that we copy from outside and transplant in our continent, sidelining Africa's millennia-old culture and rich and diverse heritage. The theme brings to the fore the necessity of preserving our rich cultural heritage, using them as inspiration for our developmental visions, and situating our plans in Africa's reality. The theme resonates with the importance Eritrea gives to cultural heritage in the nation-building process. Eritrea's National Charter, adopted in 1994, outlines the vision of drawing on our rich, and I quote, on our rich cultural heritage and the progressive values we developed during the liberation struggle to develop an Eritrean culture characterized by love of country, respect for humanity, solidarity between men and women, love of truth and justice, respect for law, hard work, self-confidence, self-reliance, open-mindedness, and inventiveness. Mr. Chairperson, the COVID-19 pandemic continues to inflict considerable harmful impact globally. In Eritrea, thanks to the pragmatic approach and protective measures deployed, the degree of transmission of the virus has been low. As of April 2021, there were 3,597 confirmed cases, out of which almost 95% have recovered, with 10 fatalities. These figures, even though encouraging, do not warrant putting our guard down. The government and people of Eritrea are redoubling their efforts to contain the pandemic and minimize its adverse socioeconomic impacts, including through providing assistance to the vulnerable sections of the society. Based on careful assessment in the country, the lockdown measures are gradually being reversed. Schools have reopened, public transportation has restarted, and international flights have partially resumed. The resumption of the services is being undertaken with strict adherence to COVID-19 protective procedures. The detrimental effect of the pandemic on the pace of progress in achieving developmental goals and the economic impact of the protective measures notwithstanding, the people and government of Eritrea are dedicating their time, energy, and resources to laying down the foundation for economic development and improving the standard of life of the population by focusing on key productive sectors in accordance with the new National Development Roadmap. Mr. Chairperson, unfortunately, the pandemic is not the only emergency that the Horn of Africa region has grappled with. Despite the emerging and promising progress that resulted from the Eritrea-Ethiopia Peace, Friendship and Cooperation Declaration and Agreement, signed in July and September 2018, respectively, and with the promising implications to regional peace, security and development, a new crisis emerged in the Tigray region of Ethiopia. The fundamental issue is that the crisis erupted by TPLF cliques attack in early November 2020 on Ethiopia's largest army contingent stationed in the Tigray region, This was followed by missile attacks on a neighboring region in Ethiopia and several targets in Eritrea. The reckless attack, with the ill intent to seize power in Ethiopia and eventually invade Eritrea, constituted a threat to the national security of both countries, with grave consequences to the emerging and promising progress in the revitalization of peace, security, and development in the region. Once the evil plan started to fail immediately, the TPLF resorted to intensive propaganda campaign of defaming Eritrea. Disinformation through the cyber domain has remained the only weapon of the TPLF clique and pursued through desperate fabrications and recycling of fake news and Photoshop images of events that never occurred. Certain media outlets, some of them hired by the clique since its time as the ruling power in Ethiopia, continue to be involved in the propagation of the fake news, Eritrea being taken as a scapegoat and main target. In this regard, the baseless allegations made against the Eritrean armed forces and are a link to and an affront to the history and culture of Eritrea, a country with a strong legal and institutional basis for respect and protection of human dignity in any situation. Eritrea's strong advocacy and practice for adherence to international human rights law and international humanitarian law during armed conflicts, including during the 30 years national liberation struggle, is well known. The allegations leveled by the TPLF clique and Eritrea's arch enemies, highlighting the defamatory portrayal of sexual violence, looting, and crimes by the Eritrean army in the pretext of Ethiopia's rule of law operations in the Tigray region of Ethiopia are thus baseless. These allegations are meant to deflect attention from the war launched and atrocities committed by the defunct TPLF. It's unacceptable that the same external entities who aided and abetted TPLF's murderous reign in Ethiopia for almost 3 decades by providing financial, political, diplomatic, and military support are now working desperately to cover up these crimes, give it a lifeline, and use Eritrea as the scapegoat in this situation. Ethiopia has been affected from the conflict launched by TPLF clique and the humanitarian problems that attack engendered. The crimes of aggression, ethnic cleansing, war crimes committed by the TPLF are not limited to the past few months, but span 3 decades.
That the time I have, the 7 minutes has already passed. If you
okay, I'll conclude. In conclusion, Mr. Chairperson, it's any party motivated by human rights concerns and peace and security development in the Horn of Africa shoulders responsibility to condemn the TPLF clique crimes and hold the perpetrators accountable. I thank you, Mr. Chairperson.
Thank you very much for that statement of the state of Eritrea, providing us update on the importance of the theme of the year on arts, culture, and heritage in the nation building process, for example, in Eritrea, and the importance that this has for the implementation also of various commitments, including those relating to human rights. The update provided on COVID-19 and the measures that Eritrea adopted in order to contain the COVID-19 measures, including in supporting vulnerable sections of society, and the easing of lockdown measures that are happening in Eritrea. And we do hope that these measures are in line with Resolution 449 of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, which provides detailed guidelines as far as the COVID-19 measure is concerned. And we do hope that Eritrea also supports the call of the African Commission for access to vaccine, including through creating enabling conditions for its generic manufacturing on the continent.